this map here, and then we have another, this is the other area, which is Spruce and William. So it's just this area here where it's low lying. And we found that the flood, a lot of the cottages, dwellings are in the flood line, but if they redevelop, they're redeveloping in the dynamic beach. And I'll just show a few more slides about this dynamic beach, because a lot of people ask, well, what is the dynamic beach? In the dynamic beach, we have this very large beach deposit all the way Grand Bend to Ipperwash, but it's the 30 meters from the flood hazard. And this has been calculated in 2010, the flood hazard on Ipperwash Beach. And we didn't have that before, so we had to have that flood hazard defined. And before I explain that, the default, if you don't do intensive coastal studies, the dynamic beach is 30 meters from the flood level. Or it can be a dynamic beach allowance based on a site-specific study using accepted scientific and engineering principles. So this is an option that you can have, like a landowner can do, they can do their own coastal study. It's costly, you have to do cross sections, etc. There's quite a bit to it. So we're proposing that, you know, we do this study for all of West Ipperwash, that study area. And the beaches are very important because the dune system is very, very important for flood and erosion protection of the development that occurs there. And we want to maintain that beach system, so we want to look at this West Ipperwash area, look at the status of that system. There is some protection measures there, walls, and I can show you some examples, but we want to take a look at that as well. And these photos are from, are historic photos from Ipperwash Beach. I think this was Seeger's store, Siegner, okay. And this is West Ipperwash area. And this photo was flooding behind the cottage because there are some low-lying areas behind the cottages. In this area of Spruce, there are some lower-lying areas. And this is a photo, I just showed a few photos, but this is a photo, a recent photo of the new dunes, the embryo dunes kind of forming because the lake level is so low right now. And just an example of some protection where they've put concrete over, that's like a low dune. So just, I think it's worthwhile to have coastal expertise come in and talk to landowners also about protection and what is good protection and what isn't. So the issue we're finding, I'm just gonna give I have a lot more examples, but I'll just go through a couple that we're having. Is people are proposing, this is a dynamic beach limit, so you can see that there's a lot of cottages and houses within that dynamic beach limit, and they're proposing to tear down or put second stories on, which means basically rebuilding. And the policies don't allow that. The provincial policy statement does not, it specifically says development and site alteration shall not be permitted within a dynamic beach hazard. And the Conservation Authority and the Ausable Bay Field, we have had to manage existing development and come up with a system where if we want to protect the dunes, And then the outer lying area of the dynamic beach is just potential to build in, but there isn't even that potential with these policies in West Dipperwash. Here's an example on Juniper Lane, and the blue is the flood hazard, and the black is the dynamic beach hazard. So this proponent, the fellow that owned this, he wanted to put a second story on, but it basically meant rebuilding. And we said, well, you can move back, but you see how far he'd have to move back. So we really would like to take a look at this dynamic beach area. And that's another one where someone wanted to tear down the accessory garage, which is right here, and rebuild a garage and a dwelling, and so that's in the dynamic beach as well. So what we're talking about is proposing, just quickly, to take cross-section. This is an example of the model that a coastal firm would undertake in West Dipperwash. Take cross-sections, bathymetry through under the, now the lake is quite exposed now, like we're going down below record low levels. So it is a good time to take cross-sections, bathymetry, and then the back beach as well. And then you model the high water level and where the beach run-up will occur, because there is a set development line on that West Dipperwash. There is protection, and then there's buildings. So really, the question is, where do those coastal processes stop? Like on West Dipperwash, how much impact have they had? And the engineer will come up. This is just an example. They come up with a model and a system and recommendations on where that dynamic beach limit is, the defined active dynamic beach limit, so that we can be more flexible with development proposals. That's the purpose of this. And that was another picture of the March St. Patrick's Day storm in Dipperwash Beach. So sorry I ran through that very quickly, but maybe if there's any questions.
Okay, yeah, I see questions. Councillor Russell?
Thank you for that. And the no man's land, right? That's the old Sanko term for it, no man's land. And do you know why it was called no man's land?
Well,
We never wanted to let any conservation authority.
I think the conservation authorities they all called it no man's land because it wasn't in a CA. The conservation.
And there was a purpose on that. The council for many years didn't want it anymore. Okay. So my question isn't to go to that issue, but it's kind of a funny no man. It's like Little Egypt or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So your goal is to make it like we deal with the Sauble and the rest of the watershed, right? Along Lake Huron in Lambton Shores, whereby a person who owns a property will now have accurate and, as you said, engineered backed, right, from your office to enable them to, if they want to, improve their place, except for doing major renovations, they could legally do it, or is it, the other side of it is this going to be more restrictive, I guess, is the simple question.
Well, it's going to be more detailed study. We use the 30-meter default, which works everywhere else in Dipperwash, and in our other beaches in Sarnia. We have dynamic beaches in Sarnia, and there definitely are dunes, a fully developed dune system. In West Dipperwash, this is where we need further study, because that dynamic beach limit, there's been so much encroachment in there. We have to look at where really is a dynamic.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand your technical reasons for why you want to do it. My question goes to the salient issue is a taxpayer who owns a property on the beach, right, where we have, as you say, a little bit gray in terms of where the line is. That's a physical fact.
Yeah.
We have a choice. If we invest the money from the town, right, we invest the money in you to do this, will that enable that person who owns that property, if they wanted to do a renovation,